Thank you so very much for tuning in. Your super chat is greatly appreciated, allows me to do these live streams, helps me do these live streams, so thank you so very much. CBS News, acting Federal Bureau of Investigation chief unexpectedly retires as Trump's pick awaits confirmation. Kash Patel is going to help expedite, for a number of reasons, the Supreme Court overturning, and they will, ladies and gentlemen, just like they gave President Trump the immunity victory over Jack Smith that I told you about would happen, just like they overturned the absurd Colorado ban, just like they sided with January defendants, the Supreme Court will, because perhaps investigations that will be started by the incoming Bureau Director, Kash Patel, who is a phenomenal, amazing choice. The Supreme Court will overturn the absurd, unconstitutional, guilty verdict. New York and no state can level a federal crime without the federal government and Department of Justice involved. We'll get to that like we always do, but this is absolutely phenomenal. Kash Patel speaking. I love Kash Patel. I absolutely love Kash Patel. Today was a beautiful day. We live streamed the inauguration earlier today. Please go ahead and watch that. I tried to keep my analysis to a minimum and, enjoy the beauty of today. It was just really wonderful. I can't tell you how much I love Kash Patel. There's a new sheriff in town. There's a new paradigm, political paradigm. The Democratic Party was so utterly corrupt. It was unbelievable. What they were doing against Trump and what they were doing against the rule of law was just unbelievable. And if you broke the law trying to imprison Trump, it's very simple. Okay, this isn't rocket science. This is not retribution. What they did against Trump was retribution, vitriol, venom. They tried to bend and contort legal theories to imprison a direct political rival. In this case, the Supreme Court just needs... Actually, doesn't need any investigation, but what will happen is Kash Patel, Pam Bondi will likely begin numerous investigations to find out why and how Trump was convicted of something that wasn't a crime. And the Supreme Court will overturn, but you're looking at a number of investigations. That's why Biden pardoned so many people, from Hunter to the people he pardoned today, which was absolutely hilarious, but also very an acknowledgement that these people committed crimes. Cheney, Fauci, others. Anyway, let's continue. Hit subscribe to my super chat. Thank you so very much.
My, oh my, how do you follow Elon Musk when he tells you you're going to take you to Mars? I'll tell you how. He and I share something deeply. We love the American dream. And we have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty, because we just inaugurated Donald J. Trump as our 47th president. And we just inaugurated J.D. Vance as our Vice President of the United States. And we did that because the American dream is alive and well, because you chose that our dream can be the dream for our children and the dream for our world. And we are at a crossroads here in America, but our future is bright because you had the courage to stand for your convictions. So I'm humbled here to talk to you about why I love the American dream. My story's pretty simple, it's unique, and some of you share in it. My parents were born and raised in East Africa. My father in the 1970s fled a genocidal dictatorship in Uganda, where he saw 300,000 of his countrymen murdered, where he saw what lawlessness would do if it was allowed to break through the system of constitutional justice. He fled, like so many others. He married my mother. They moved here. They waited in line. They stood in line because the American dream was worth standing in line for. That dream is woven into the fabric of this nation And our immigration policy is the greatest policy in the world. And now that we have Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, it will become the greatest policy in the world again. But dreams and hopes aren't enough, my friends. We got to get to work. And we got to accept the realities that too many of you know from your communities. President Trump launched in his first term priorities of national security, law enforcement, economy, and global diplomacy. But now we have to retread some of that. And I'd just like to go over a few of the things that our community has been living under these last few years. In the last calendar year alone, we had 100,000 drug overdoses. In the last calendar year alone, we had over 100,000 rapes. In the last calendar year alone, we had 17,000 homicides. That is unacceptable in 2025 in the United States of America. That is why we need constitutional law and order. When I read the statistic that for the age group of 18 to 45, the #1 cause of death is CCP fentanyl. We are not prioritized to go after the threats that face this country and most of all, that face our future generations. But thank God we will be starting right now. President Trump and J.D. Vance's leadership and administration will usher in the priorities that I cherished during my 16 years in government service. That we will always, always honor the men and women who wear the cloth of our nation and stand on that wall and tell you nothing's getting by them tonight. And so to them, thank you. To our teachers and our frontline workers and our first responders, y'all choose to show up every single day for our children, for our communities, and we will now show up for you. Thank you for keeping us safe. To the men and women in law enforcement, and maybe I'm biased on this one, our police officers, our sheriffs, our federal agents are some of the greatest warriors that God has ever created. And we will put them first because they have our backs, and now we will have your backs. I am standing here because of the American dream. I am not standing here because of the color of my skin. I'm standing here because I earned my right on this stage, and you earned your right to be here with me. And I promise you this, with every fiber of my being, that our law enforcement, that our teachers, that our first responders, that our veterans, that our men and women in uniform who dare to serve this country and put themselves below the rest of our needs will be reprioritized to the top of the heap because they are standing on that wall, and we will not let that light go dark on them. Whether I was a national security prosecutor, a public defender, President Trump's deputy director of national intelligence, his chief of staff at the Department of Defense, or so many other roles that I was humbled and privileged to serve when I swore an oath to that Constitution, which I hope to do so again one day soon. You have my word that you have ushered in a dynasty of change. You have ushered in a dynasty that will allow our children to live this American dream. My American dream. I am living the world's American dream. I am the son of lawful immigrants. We worked our tails off just like you all do, and I'm going to make you a deal. I promise you I will never quit on your children. I will never quit on their children, because this American dream does not belong to me. It does not belong to them. This American dream belongs to the world. So in closing, I just want to tell you this. It's pretty cool to be speaking in Capital One Arena right before the boss. You've inspired me beyond words. Your love, your devotion, your commitment to our country, everywhere I go, shows us that we are not only the beacon of hope, but we are the land of constitutional justice. We are the land under Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance where we are going to end the two-tier system of justice. We are going to remove the weaponization of the intelligence community for political purposes. And we are going to put the men and women of America first. So listen, there's just one thing left to do. We all got work to do. We've got the greatest president and the greatest vice president in the history of the world. And so I just need you all to do a little bit more. Every time you see a law enforcement officer, every time you see a veteran, every time you see a teacher, shake their hand. Give them a little bit of your time, because they're giving us all of our time. And don't forget to enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America. God bless these United States of America. God bless every one of you. I'm living the American dream. My name is Kash Patel, and I ain't going anywhere.
So part of stopping the weaponization of intel agencies, of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, of federal law enforcement is to find out if anyone broke the law. So everything that I've been telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it's taking place, finally taking place. You're going to have, you don't even need special counsels. Kash Patel has access to all the classified data. So does Pam Bondi. John Ratcliffe is going to be very huge and important in all of this. Democrats have lived. They have prospered by intel agencies, by utilizing the United States government against political rivals. If you broke the law, if they broke the law, very simple. Just like when Democrats tried to imprison Trump, they said this is about the rule of law. It'll be about the rule of law. It won't be weaponization. But the thing is, you cannot, it's not about the pendulum swinging towards Trump. You cannot reset American politics to quote unquote factory settings. You cannot have a political system that simply doesn't go after the direct opponent every 4 years, unless the people who tried to imprison Trump, if they broke the law, there must be investigations, there must be indictments, because that's the only way to dissuade, to deter. That's the word I'm looking for. The only way to deter people from continually utilizing the Department of Justice when they gain power is to ensure that this type of thing, what Democrats have done for 4 years, working with state and local officials, which will be one of the reasons the Trump conviction will be overturned. Okay? He's not a convicted felon. You could say, well, technically, but he's not a convicted felon in the sense of what the words mean. You had Democrats contorting and trying to string together far-fetched legal theories. And so, the Supreme Court will not allow a state to unilaterally decide upon a federal statute. If the Department of Justice dropped the case, it's unconstitutional for a state to unilaterally level a federal statute. But Kash Patel will be very important, integral in all of this. The same government agencies that were leveled against Trump will be utilized to see if people committed crimes. And anyone who committed crimes trying to set up and frame Trump will themselves be indicted. That is the only way to stop the weaponization of the justice system, intel. And the rebuttal will be, oh, you're going after the same people who indicted you. It's the same thing. It's like, no, it's not. You Democrats don't have the right to do things that are unprecedented, that are illegal, that are blatantly partisan, that are examples of what authoritarians and totalitarians and despots would do. They don't have the right. Nobody has the right to break the law in a foolish attempt at trying to imprison Donald Trump. So no, it'll be marketed as, oh my God, the authoritarians are coming after us after we tried to illegally imprison Trump. But you know what? That's the only language that certain political operatives understand. Let's listen to Elon Musk for a second.
We're looking forward to making a lot of changes, and you know this victory is the start, really. What matters going forward is to actually make significant changes, cement those changes, and set the foundation for America to be strong for a century, for centuries, forever. So, and make America great again. Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, we're gonna do great things here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. You know, I always say we have to be protective of our geniuses because we don't have too many, but that one is a good one. Now, I watched his rocket come down about 3 months ago, and I thought it was crashing. I was talking to somebody on the phone. By the way, same thing happened yesterday. It came down, and it was captured so beautifully. It came down, it's tumbling, it's a mess, it's going down. I say, oh, look at that thing, that's a disaster. And then it gets like a couple of miles away from Earth, and all of a sudden the engines start going on, the things start, and then I see it coming in and landing in the gantry, and I'm watching it, I'm saying, oh, it's going to crash, oh, but those engines came out and they blew the fire all over the place. And all of a sudden, those two big arms came and hugged it like you would hug your little baby. And that sucker landed it. Nobody's been able to do that but him. And he's a great guy. And we have him and Vivek and some great people working on a thing called costs. And he's got the credibility to do it, too. And we're going to do things that are really amazing. But he went out to Pennsylvania after that. He landed that rocket nobody had ever seen. By the way, China can't do it. Russia can't do it or come close. It will be 10 years before they can do it. And the U.S. can't do it except for him. And it's pretty amazing. But he did that. And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy. And he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody. All those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon. And his son's name, who's cute as a button, his son's name is X. He's the only guy who could get away with the name X. But his son is a great guy. One thing we know, his son is smart. If you believe in the racehorse theory, he's got a nice, smart son. But thank you very much to Elon and everybody. We've had so much help. Every radical and foolish executive order of the Biden administration will be repealed within hours of when I take the oath of office. Oh, you're going to have a lot of fun watching television tomorrow.
And here are the initial executive orders, people.
You have that other one to sign?
Sorry, what's it?
You have the other one to sign?
We don't have it over here yet, sir. We'll have it for you back at the oven. The first is the rescissions of 78 Biden-era EOs and presidential memoranda.
You want to call it up? You want to say it? You want to say it?
Oh, if you want me to, sir.
Why don't you say what I'm signing?
Sure. The first item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
For anyone looking at this and saying this is an abomination, we had Trump 2016 to 2020. Then we had an experiment in failure with Biden and Harris. We went back. I'm going to say this slowly so the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats will understand. We went back to Trump because he's a superior, better, more amazing president. He was a competent, wonderful president that had to endure a temper tantrum of biblical performance, biblical and monumental standards, okay, biblical proportions. It was a temper tantrum. Now he's going to erase everything Biden did. Thank God. But we went back to him for a reason, people. Okay, so if you are, MSNBC was hilarious. They had this thing, Earth 2, the inauguration, the inaugural speech was an Earth 2 event. It's like, no, this is Earth. This is the Earth. Any bizarro world was what you were living 4 years, in the past 4 years up until today. Okay, people didn't want that. They want actual Earth reality right here.
Thank you, sir. The second item, President Trump, is a regulatory freeze, as you announced in your speech, preventing bureaucrats from issuing any more regulations until we have full control of this, the government and this administration. Thank you, sir.
Sir, can I have a pen?
The next item, sir, is a freeze on all federal hiring, excepting the military and a number of other excluded categories, again, until full control of the government is achieved and we understand the objectives of government going forward.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately. Thank you, sir. Next, we have a directive to every department and agency in the federal government to address the cost of living crisis that has cost Americans so dearly. Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty.
For anyone who feels this is a terrible thing for the world, are there any enforcement mechanisms within these types of treaties to ensure that China and other countries will abide by certain quotas? Yes or no? It's a rhetorical question, of course. Of course not. There is no enforcement mechanism. Okay, unless you cannot allow a global or multilateral treaty to harm the economic interests of your country. First and foremost, even the road to you-know-where is paved with good intentions. You have people saying, oh my God. If you knew that this topic was important, then why didn't the Democrats in the West Coast prepare for an unmitigated disaster? If the winds are stronger, if terrain is drier, then why not prepare? Because Democrats don't truly believe. They buy beachfront property because they don't truly believe that within a year or 10 years or 100 years. Okay, I'm not going to go on with it. There has to be, it's very simple. If you're a morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat, is there an enforcement mechanism preventing other countries from breaking protocol, rules, guidelines within these treaties? Yes or no? It's a rhetorical question. Of course there's no enforcement mechanism. That's why what Trump did was fantastic.
Yes, sir. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty. And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty. Thank you, sir. This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward.
The censorship of Trump, of supporters of President Trump, of conservatives will no longer happen, will never happen again in the way that it did with Twitter. That was the dark ages. Those were the dark ages of expression, freedom of expression, in modern U.S. history. Okay? It didn't work. Literally everything they tried to do to Trump didn't work. And now they've resorted to not going to Thanksgiving. Didn't have a dinner. Red Skelton? He didn't have a dinner. They've resorted now. They tried to imprison him. An individual, possibly in quotes, tried to end his life. They silenced with Twitter and government agencies. They wouldn't let you talk about Hunter's laptop. They accused him of being a Russian operative. And now they're not going to Thanksgiving dinner. Do you understand? They have tried and failed so miserably. And now, as the ultimate revenge, there's more turkey for you. They won't be going to Thanksgiving and the next Christmas, and they won't get you anything and they're going to try to, it's not working. Nothing they do works. It only makes Trump and everyone around Trump stronger and the country stronger.
And lastly, sir, before we go back to the Oval Office to sign a large number of other items, is a directive to the federal government ending the weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration, as we've seen. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely fantastic. This is really interesting too. A kind of interesting take on what's going on.
All right, we're back at Capital One Arena here in Washington, D.C., reporting on and celebrating Donald Trump's historic inauguration. We're going to bring in Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, and Steve Moore, host of More Money on WABC Radio. And both of those guys somehow together put a book out called The Trump Economic Miracle or something like that. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this. Let me get your... I'm not actually seeing you. I was hoping we get to... There they are. Okay, now they're up on the screen. All right, Art Laffer, what'd you think about the inauguration speech? What do you think about inauguration?
JT, that would be amazing, huh, sir? Love trucks, hello. Paul Bartlett, thank you. Jay, that would be amazing. I just, you know what? The future is bright for this country. God bless America. God bless you all. The future is bright for this country. You know, on this platform, let me tell you, I mean, if you've been here, Jay and everybody here, Paul Bartlett, Love Trucks, Nicholas, everybody here, you've been here. What I really started working on this channel in 2016, 2017, and we had a really good time. I mean, we still have a good time. We're still having a good time on this channel, okay? But we could talk about anything. We could talk about anything, and we're gonna get to the pre-algorithmic days. I'm hoping very soon. I think we're going to have a really good year. I think this is going to be a wonderful year, wonderful 4 years. There could be ups and downs like in any lifetime, like in any administration. God forbid we have, any calamity, a stock market crash. I mean, we're starting off the end of Biden's tenure with terrible catastrophes in the West Coast and the East Coast prior to that. I think that anything we endure with Trump and everyone around him, it's going to be a lot easier to rebound. And the economy has to get better, and foreign policy has to get better with an emphasis on peace. That's why it's a moral imperative to vote for Trump. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Inauguration Day.
I think it's the greatest day for America in a long, long time, Larry. I mean, it reminds me so much of 1981, the cold, the thing. It's a Reaganesque moment, and Trump is doing a beautiful job. As I have argued, he's the best single president in his first term on economics ever. And I think he's got a real shot at transforming America for a long, long time into the future, just the way Reagan did.
Steve Moore, what stood out in his inaugural speech as far as you're concerned?
Well, Larry, you and I both were not huge fans of Trump's inauguration speech in 2016. It was a little dark. This was exactly the opposite. It was a morning in America. It was aspirational. I love the idea of shooting for the moon, kind of literally, I should say shooting for Mars. Right? Yeah. Figuratively and literally. I thought it was an inclusive speech. He talked about blacks. He talked about Latinos. He talked about all these groups, young people. By the way, Larry, have you seen his poll numbers with young people? Is amazing. Young people see him as the bridge to the future, which is amazing for a guy who's as old as he is. So I loved the speech.
Raztaz, thank you. Everybody here, if you've been here for a long time, since 2017, even before, thank you so very much. Raztaz, everybody here, thank you so much for just being here watching for so long. We're almost at 300,000. Raztaz, everybody here. Isn't that fantastic? Only in America. Only in America can somebody with, tech skills that I have could get almost approaching. We're going to get to 300,000 soon, God willing.
I thought it was one of the best inauguration speeches. I go back to 1984. I think one of the best ever.
Steve Moore, I thought you'd jump for joy because Mr. Trump had a section in there about cutting federal spending. I know that you worry a lot and obsess about federal spending. The only thing there that you would have liked better was the debt ceiling. But he did talk about cutting government spending. Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, look, the only thing, it was really a powerful speech. I really believe that. And I think it's interesting, Larry, 4 years ago, we heard Joe Biden give his speech, and it was all about uniting the country. But then Joe Biden went into office, and I can't think of a single thing he did in 4 years that united the country. I think growth is uniting, prosperity is uniting, inclusion is uniting. So I think I'm excited. I'm a little worried about the tariffs, but other than that, I like the agenda.
Well, that was my next question, Art Laffer. He didn't go into details. I mean, there's going to be plenty of time for discussion of details. But he did mention tariffs several times, and he did mention a new tariff collecting revenue, an external revenue collection agency.
Only Trump would have the External Revenue Service. Yes. Oh, my God. Why only Trump would look at the world and say, you know what, you're giving us a raw deal. Democrats look at, I don't even want to get into it. President Trump is the only what they were trying, Democrats are actually trying to get a misinformation or department, okay? As they spread information that misinforms routinely on a daily basis. But then you get these like articles, Trump's tariffs are a bad idea. It's like, well, they kept Trump. The Democrats literally kept Trump's tariffs, a number of Trump's tariffs against China. And tariffs are a short-term tactic. What he does, this is what people don't understand. Like the same Democrats who run up the deficit and shut down states, and they don't care about debt. Debt ballooned under their policies in their watch and, all of their advocacy. Ballooned. Okay? Shutting down the U.S. economy because somebody that got pardoned today, or he was one of the people, but that was the greatest economic sin in modern U.S. history. But it's like a tariff is a short-term bargaining tactic while we still have the number one economy. And Lord knows it's probably going to be in 10 years another country or two other countries. Okay? But we still have global dominance. Why not utilize that in terms of negotiating? Every other country negotiates so much better than we had the past 4 years. With Trump, it's called negotiation. God, it's such a simple thing to understand.
Agency. I don't know how you think about that. And at the same time, Art, he did not mention tax cuts. And I was somewhat surprised and disappointed that he didn't have a spot for tax cuts today.
Well, both of your points are correct, Larry. I mean, they are. But, Trump is a doer, not a talker in this. I mean, he's a great talker, but what he does is amazing. And all the talk he does on tariffs, we have to go back to his first term when he had, I think, 6 major bills, USMCA, we had the South Korea, we had the Japan, we had the Brazilian and the Colombian agreements there. All of them reduced barriers, reduced tariffs, reduced taxes, were pro-growth policies. I'm expecting Donald Trump to be pro-growth across the board and really create a new prosperity in this country. And, I also think that he's going to want to cut taxes. I think he'd love to get that corporate rate down to 15% and taxes on overtime, get rid of it. I mean, these are all great ideas. And it's really the House has to do the legislation. But I think he's going to do something really great on that line.
You should cut taxes. It's very important to cut taxes. Why? The rebuttal is, what about social safety nets? Why did Kerry and Biden and Clinton vote for never-ending military conflict? A social safety net, the good, wonderful, morally superior liberal, always brings up social safety nets, which I agree need to be there. Why don't you emphasize getting people out of poverty? Why don't you emphasize not getting into never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts? But they have, like, the wonderful, morally superior liberals are like a racehorse. They have blinders on that can only see one way. They don't see how never-ending military conflict impacts social safety nets. They don't get it. They don't understand. And one of the greatest Americans of all time, if not the greatest, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had a speech beyond Vietnam. And he was against never-ending military conflict because it took away from alleviating and ending poverty and other issues, sending Americans off to quagmires, chaos, mayhem on the world stage. Why? Why did Kerry and Biden and Clinton and Democrats, why did they join Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld? Two sides of the same coin 20 years ago. So it's like, don't worry about cutting taxes and tariffs. Worry about never-ending military conflict. That's what's the most costly here.
I'm sure you agree, don't you?
Well, the influential Congressman Byron Donalds, who was here at the top of the show, said that he believed the extension of the tax cuts is absolutely a done deal and that the House will get that through right away, which I think is terrific. I mean, one big, beautiful bill seems to be what the House of Representatives wants, and I think extending the tax cuts will be part of that. There may be time later for Trump to taxes 2.0, but I think right off the top is going to be extending the tax cuts.
And that's what it should be, Larry. That's what it should be.
So the other thing, by the way, please tell Arthur to stop waving his hand in front of my face. We're practically sitting on each other.
I'm trying to keep the audience. I'm trying to keep the audience from getting sick, Larry. That's why I do it.
But anyway, so we're at this conference party this afternoon that we both attended, and it was a bunch of the people from the energy industry, Larry. And I got to tell you, they are amazingly upbeat. They are so bullish about America's energy future, and Trump talked a lot about that. I think that's going to be one of the greatest things. Use our oil, use our gas, use our coal, use our nuclear power, everything we got.
Well, I think, you two are terrific together. It's a lovely couple. I think, though, a good part of his inaugural speech, and this is very important, was rolling back the Biden climate regulations and rolling back the EV regulations and rolling back all of the Green New Deal.
How do these regulations help the West Coast of this country? Okay. How do these regulations improve our economy? You need to first focus on the U.S. economy, and then you need to end perpetual wars, and then anything else, then you focus on. Okay. The Democrats want to save the planet. Fantastic. I agree with them. Let's save the planet. Don't beg other countries for oil, which is what Democrats do. Oh, because apparently the planet suddenly, we have to implement regulations, but then we beg other countries who don't implement the same regulations for the same oil that we don't allow the oil industry to drill in the same manner here. So it's like the mantra, the whole philosophy of the Green New Deal is that we're one world and we have to protect it. Great. How are you ensuring that do other countries have our regulations? No. What do you think happens to the planet? This isn't rocket science. I mean, this is so simple to understand.
And rolling back the spending that went on with the Green New Deal. That was a huge part of the speech today, and that has to be music to your ears. Both of you guys are. Arthur, go ahead.
Well, let me just say that it's music to my ears totally and completely, but also contrast that with the last few minutes of Biden's presidency when he pardoned everyone on earth. What would happen, Larry, if he pardoned literally every American for every crime for the next century? Is that possible? What would be the Supreme Court adjudication on that one? I mean, no one could ever be convicted of a crime ever again. I don't know what this guy's doing and all that versus Trump's really upbeat looking at the future.
Biden pardoned the people who committed crimes. That's why he pardoned these people. Okay? They tried to imprison Trump. We couldn't talk about Hunter's laptop. Okay? Trump was impeached. Literally impeached. Okay? Because he thought Biden was corrupt. And then Biden promptly pardons Hunter 4 years later. And the laptop was a Kremlin propaganda campaign. Literally everything they do is lies, and then the Washington Post stops the fact-checking and the lie meter when Democrats were in the Oval Office. It's really hilarious. But, I mean, why did we shut down the U.S. economy 4 years ago? That was one of the greatest economic sins of all time. How many people were involved in that? And why is one person pardoned?
The juxtaposition is so perfect. I'm so glad Biden's gone, and I'm so glad Trump's here.
Well, look, I mean, we just had the great Miranda Devine here talking about, Biden corruption is just off Biden corruption is off the charts, and what he did today with only 20 minutes left in his entire presidential term, pardoning his family members, was just pure insanity. It shows, though, how corrupt, how guilty, and how divisive he was. But he's not going to steal the thunder from Donald Trump's day today. I mean, Steve Moore, this was a historic inauguration. 4 years ago, very few people thought this could happen. Here it happened with almost a virtual landslide. I mean,
if you watch this channel, I've been telling you for the last 4 years that President Trump is going to win, likely a landslide. Okay? I didn't have scientific models. I didn't have scientific models that, like the movie War Games. But I mean, you had these websites. Out of 5,000, out of 50,000 times, Harris wins 0.06%. Nope. I said, he's coming back, baby. Nothing they do will stop him. And if you watch this channel, I have told you exactly what's taking place.
It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, when you think about where he was 3 years ago, the odds were probably 1 in 20 that he would ever return to the White House. But, you and I have learned, and Arthur, from the time we started working with him back in 2016, remember, people said he was 1 in 10 chance of winning the White House, and he's done it now twice. It really is remarkable. Anybody who bets against this man is making a big mistake.
Ladies and gentlemen, God bless America. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, for watching for so long. And I mean, if you just subscribed, you've been here since 2017, 2016. Thank you so much, or even before. Late 2015, I started. Late 2015, and I was doing one video every week or so. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless America. God bless the President of the United States of America, Kash Patel, his cabinet. And we need to... this country needs to head in the right direction. And I heard this phrase, Trump was on the wrong side of history. If you opposed Trump, you were likely on the wrong side of history. Okay? The American people aren't stupid. They're not going to go back to somebody twice. If your response was, Trump won in 2016, it was an aberration, an anomaly, and now we have Biden back. Well, Trump won the popular vote. And that's the popular vote without any media, without any public relations. Trump won the popular vote. Say that 1,000,000 times. Morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats. Everybody, huge day for the world. For the world. The United States won't sit back and watch endless suffering and carnage and do nothing about it or help fan the flames like what happened with Biden. You have to have leadership. You have to have leadership, and we can go on forever. Trump is a leader. Biden, unfortunately, I don't want to be rude. He was so much of a leader that one debate and Democrats had enough of him. Okay, when the world saw him in that one debate, everyone who said, yeah, Trump has a point 4 years ago, was saying, look, this is what we were telling you for 4 years. Oh, my God. Anyway, hit subscribe. Great day for America. God bless you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your kind words, for your support. This is going to be a fantastic year, a fantastic 4 years. I look forward to being here every day with you for 4 years and beyond for a long, long time. God bless America. Thanks, everybody.